Hi everyone, my name is Jenny and welcome back to my creative space. This video is going to be my April wrap-up, and I wanted to do a different format for my April wrap-up, but most of the books I read this month I actually featured in vlogs, and so I didn't want to do a boring wrap-up about things that you could probably just watch another video to find out about. I wanted to just go ahead and do a feature of my favorites for the month of April, and it's going to be some bookish stuff and then also some lifestyle content as well. But I'm going to start off with the bookish things. In total for April, I read 8 books, 6 of which were featured in my reading vlogs that I posted in the month of April, and 2 of them which I have not spoken about. The first one of the 2 that I have not spoken about is the 7th volume for Apothecary Diaries. This one I'm not going to talk too much about since it is so deep in the series, but I will just say that this one is probably my favorite of the light novels that I've read thus far. I think I've only read I started on volume 4 because that's where I believe the manga had left off, where I had read, and I just think that the pacing and overall translation of this one has been so much of a smoother experience, and I think the mystery involved in volume 7 has just been more intriguing for me, and also just getting to see the character arc that Mao Mao and Jinshi both are going on separately as separate people has been so interesting in that volume, and there's certain sort of character builds that happen in that really had me kind of kicking my feet and giggling, so I really did enjoy that. And then for my first bookish favorite this month, and this is the 8th book that I've also read in the month of April, and that is The Raven Scholar. This book was really a surprise for me. I had not known about this until one of my friends, Jonathan, had told me about it, and I was like, oh, I've not heard this book before. I don't think that this is the author's debut, but this is definitely the first that I've read from this author. I originally read it via audio, and then I ended up buying myself a book because I enjoyed the book so much. But the audio I highly, highly recommend. All in all, the book and story itself is such a great story, but the audio narrator just brings so distinct of a voice to each character in the story as a whole that I highly recommend that you tandem read with that. But basically what The Raven Scholar is we're following our main character Nima, and she is the high scholar in this kingdom, and she works very closely to the emperor, and it's towards the end of his reign, and so he's stepping down as emperor. And the way the kingdom works is that 7 competitors from these main factions in the kingdom are competing against each other to see who has the most well-rounded character to become the successor of the throne. And unfortunately, one of those competitors is murdered before that competition begins. And so the emperor tasks Nima, the high scholar, to investigate the murder of that competitor. And what seems to be a sort of simple murder mystery setup ends up becoming this very layered, intricate political fantasy. There is layers of the murder mystery that's at the forefront, but once our main character Nima starts pulling at the threads, there is deeper political influence to this murder, and also the layer of this competition that is just so interesting in building the understanding of this kingdom and the world. And honestly, layers of family drama that come into this. And to my surprise, there is a subplot of a romance. Ugh, this book just had it all, really. I originally gave it a 4.5, but I think I would give it a 5-star upon talking to you about this. But there was just so many things in this book that was so layered and would seem messy in concept, but the author did such a good job in giving spotlight to each part of those stories. the family drama and family intrigue led into the political intrigue. There's elements of like betrayal, of what do we look for in a leader, and conversations about like, what is morality to you? What do you think is loyalty? And like all these layers and elements to the story, and like slow reveals and plot points that just shocked me, genuinely shocked me. There is like some sort of reveal with one of the characters later on that I was like, I didn't see that coming. I really didn't see it coming. And so like to be so pulled in, I think I read this, I kind of started it one day and then had to do like other things. And then I ended up picking it up and finishing it all in that one day. Oh my god, the story was just so compelling. And the main character, Nima, I think she was such a great point of view to follow this story with. And, you know, because she's a high scholar, she is very intelligent. She knows so much history of the land, and she has all of these different points of knowledge that build onto how she perceives certain things. It was just so interesting, and getting to have like the humor in the narration on top of like these very brutal scenes. I was just such a great layered and dynamic book. And I think this is a fantasy that you will probably be seeing so much more of. And I will not be surprised if this is like a top favorite fantasy of 2025. Speaking of another favorite read, I also featured this in my horror reading vlog. It is Don't Let the Forest In by C.G. Drews. This is a YA horror, and I believe my first YA horror that I've read. And because it was YA, I had a different sort of expectation on how the horror would be written, but genuinely, this was quite grotesque, and the grotesqueness of it all really shocked me and surprised me. It does lean towards the older end of YA, I believe, like age range, but wow, what a story. I think it had such fantastic writing and atmosphere. I also believe it's the author's debut, and also the ace rep in this book I really, really enjoyed. It was amazing. One way to sell a book to me is telling me that there's ace rep in it, and I will pick it up. I had seen so many people that I enjoy watching love this book, but the ace rep was what really sold me. And in this book, we basically follow our young characters. Andrew, I believe he is a senior in high school, and his best friend Thomas, who's also a senior in high school, he's kind of navigating this very complicated like coming of age. Like he has a crush on his friend Thomas, but there's something mysterious going on with Thomas because his parents have been reported missing. And so like there's this sort of mystery plot point as to like what's going on with Thomas, but Andrew himself is struggling a lot with like anxiety and something complicated in his relationship with his twin sister, and getting to see the horrors and the grotesque nature of being a young teen who just is so lost in life, I think was so well done and plot out. The story in this was just so atmospheric. It's very gothic. It has like an academic background going on, obviously because they're in school, and just how the narrative slowly unfolds itself was something that really shocked and surprised me. And I think I don't know, there's just this internal bias that I have in judging YA. I think because I'm just a woman in her late 20s, like I'm like, how much can I relate to YA? But then I pick up these YA books and I'm like, wow, it just is amazing. I don't think I should prejudge books just based off of age range, but this one really surprised me. It was a 5-star horror for me, and definitely one of the biggest wins in that vlog for me. And then another 5-star read for the month of April was A Drop of Corruption by Robert Jackson Bennett. I had the e-arc for it, and then because I loved it so much, I ended up buying myself a copy of this book. This is the second book in the series, and it is an Anne and Din mystery. We basically follow our main character, Din, who is the apprentice to this highly regarded investigator, Anna, and they are tasked to investigate a missing persons case in this very kind of countryside town in the Empire. And what originally is a missing persons case turns out to be a locked room murder mystery. Although it follows that sort of classic locked room mystery, I think the layers and how the eventual reveal unfolds in this one was so well done. There was a point in the middle of the book where there's certain reveals because it gets quite scientific in the middle that lost me a little bit. But then once Robert Jackson Bennett was like, okay, here's little hints, here's little Easter eggs for you to kind of bring the plot together, I was like, okay, I see exactly where you're going. The reason why this was a 5-star for me was just the experience of reading from Robert Jackson Bennett and his critique on power and leadership in this book was just so well done, and getting to watch Din as someone who is just a little cog in the overall machine of the Empire question who he is and how he even impacts the world as somebody who wants to leave some sense of a legacy for himself, and not in that he wants people to worship him, but he wants to be a positive member in the society and to bring about overall change. And in this book, we really get to critique and see what it even means to be a king or a leader. There's this background question of who the leader of the overall empire is, because he's not really a figure that is seen, and there are characters in here that are questioning the leadership in which they work under. And it's not even just the king being in question, but even commanding officers in different departments in the government have their power questioned in this. And it was just such a dynamic exploration of what it means to be somebody who holds power and who has the ability to make change. And just getting to see Anna and Din be so silly goofy with each other, this one was genuinely a funny story, despite there being very sad and grotesque moments in this book. I think Robert Jackson Bennett writes these horrific scenes really well, and it really compels you emotionally when you are reading the stories and how certain things are negatively impacting the culture of certain areas. And just reading from an author who you can tell is enjoying writing the story, fantastic, fantastic. Honestly, one of my favorite reads this year. And this is just a book that I think really solidifies why I love mystery in a fantasy world. And yeah, I am just so excited to see where Anna and Din's story goes. There is so much of a character growth with Din, and certain elements of who Anna is as a person being revealed in this one that was just so intriguing. I also really appreciated the author's note in this as well. And I just am so excited to read the next book. I don't know when the next book comes out. I also am unsure if this is a trilogy or if it's going to be 4 or 5 books. If it is a trilogy, I really do wonder how Robert Jackson Bennett ends up wrapping up this book, but it does make me very intrigued to read some of his other works. But that is all for my bookish favorites this month. 3 wins out of 8 books that I've read. I think that is such a great win, but I'm going to move on to some of the lifestyle favorites that I have. So the next one of my favorites, which I think is the most book adjacent, is a game that I'm playing on my Switch, and that is Power Wash Simulator. I've been thinking about playing this game for a while, and then one of my friends said she really enjoys this game, and especially for audiobooks, so I ended up buying it. And I will say there are moments where it's a little frustrating because you have to 100% clean these certain scenarios they give you, and sometimes it's just like this one speck of dirt that like is almost impossible to find. So I am kind of figuring out the controls on it still as I play, but why it's a favorite this month is because it's such a brain off, relaxing kind of game. Like if you have like the volume on, you have like the water sounds as you're washing certain items, and like you can have like soap and stuff. It's just such a very almost ASMR type of game. If you're not like listening to audiobooks, it's very soothing and relaxing. And if you are listening to audiobooks, it's not a game that is that intense because you're literally power washing things. And it's not, it doesn't ask too much of you. So it's something great to do while you're audiobooking if you're somebody who can't just like sit and listen to a book being read to you. Yeah, it was just one of those games where I didn't know that I needed it until I did. And then I started to really appreciate having that sort of brain off type of game. I think I will do some clothing items for you. So one of my goals for 2025 is investing in my closet and just being a little bit more mindful of the materials that I am bringing in. I was watching some fashion content creator talk about how sometimes there are synthetics that are put into fabrics for structural reason. And so she was talking about how she looks for items that is at least 60% natural fibers. And that had kind of put me through a rabbit hole of being like, let's look at my closet. Let's look at certain items that I want to invest in and things that I know that will last me a while. And so one of the pieces on my wish list that I made at the beginning of the year was a leather bomber jacket. I don't know if you can really see it well. I'll put a picture of me wearing it, but this I ended up getting in the All Saints spring sale, and they do leather so well. It's so nice and supple. The one thing about this leather bomber jacket, I've been on the hunt for one for a little over a year now, and most of the ones that I'd seen had been faux leather. In my experience, faux leather just doesn't age well. It starts to peel as, you know, the wear continues. Whereas I think with like leather jackets that I've seen from my mom in her closet, they just age and patina so beautifully, and I just love seeing a well-worn piece in the closet. I really like the detail on here where like this edge here is actually not cotton, it's leather, and I think that that would hold up really well in the future. And even like on the ends here, it has that same detail. And it's a lighter leather jacket, so I think this is such a good piece to transition me between winter and spring, and it is just something that I am so happy with. Given that it was on the spring sale, I think I ended up getting this for close to 40% off on their website. And if you are somebody who's looking to get like a wool or leather jacket, my rule of thumb is to look on the websites between the transition period from winter to spring, and usually you can find some really good items that have like that natural material for a pretty decent percentage off. I am really happy with my purchase on this one, and I know this is something that I'm going to wear for a long time. I'm usually like an extra small, so that's probably like a US 0, but in this one I got it in a size 4 just to have a slightly oversized look on this one. But I think it's something that would grow really well in my closet, and is something that I can wear time and time again because it's like a black leather jacket. It's such a good staple piece and isn't a style that I think is too niche and trendy at this time. Like I think it's something that will just age really well throughout my closet lifetime, and I'm just so excited to wear this piece and just style it and have it be a part of my wardrobe for years and years to come. Another fashion piece that I have is actually a hat. And one of the things about me is I don't really wear hats that often. But this year I've been really getting into baseball. One of my friends is a really big Dodgers fan. And as somebody who lives in California and who is in Southern California, I've known about the Dodgers for a really long time. And the person who's really gotten me in to the Dodgers, obviously my friend who is a huge fan of the Dodgers, but a specific player is Ohtani. I really enjoy just like seeing Ohtani highlights, and it's just been so fun getting to see him transition from the Angels over to the Dodgers and just seeing how great of a player he is and seeing him being celebrated in the sport is just so fun. And so because of that, I've been wanting to get a Dodgers hat. And the beginning of the season, they went to Tokyo to do the Tokyo series, and they collaborated with one of my favorite artists, Murakami. I think Murakami is very iconic for the rainbow flowers that he does. And so for the Tokyo series, he ended up doing a collaboration for Major League Baseball where he did, I think, Chicago Cubs and also Los Angeles Dodgers. And for the Dodgers gear, he ended up doing the sakura flower, which is probably one of my favorite things that he does in motif for his art. And so I ended up getting myself a hat from him. Look at how cute that is. So it's, you know, the classic LA baseball cap, but it has Murakami's sakura flowers on there. Then on the end here, it has the Tokyo series. And then on the back, it has the classic Murakami signature there, and then some more sakura flowers. I'm someone who wears a lot of black, so like to have the Dodgers blue, it's not that far off from a black, so the color doesn't scare me too much. But like I just love the sakura flowers, and like as someone who's loved Murakami's work for so many years, getting to see him collaborate with like a hobby that I'm recently getting into has just been so exciting. And this has been the hat I wear on my hot girl walks. And it's just nice. It makes me very happy to see cute little sakura flowers. And then speaking of baseball, I wanted to go to this Jellycat store with my friends and get like a little bag charm because that is something that I really have enjoyed like since I was a kid. I don't know if you know this could be really niche, but there's like these little Winnie the Pooh charms that I'll put up here for you to see that I loved collecting in like elementary and middle school. And just seeing little bag charms become like very popular at the moment has really healed something in my inner child. And I know Jellycat has been a very popular like plushy purse charm brand. And so we went to the store and I found this little baseball. And my friend was like, well, you've been into baseball, so you should get a little baseball friend. And look at how cute he is. But yeah, so this is a favorite of the month of April because I'm just wearing this on my bag. And I had gone to the store and seen another woman have this on her bag. And I told her, I was like, oh my God, I love your little baseball jelly cat. And she was like, you have the same one. Ugh, girlhood. I love that. It's so cute, isn't it? This little face. And then another favorite of the month that is a perfume is actually one that I got in the Sephora sale recently, and that is Father Figure by Fleur. I was looking for like a spring scent, and my friend Aiden was really raving about this one, and this is like a fig scent. I've only ever smelled one fig perfume before, and it's Depik's, is it Philopsykos? I will put that on the screen for you, but that one is definitely a more green and fresh fig scent. And since I wanted a transition from winter to spring, I wanted something a little bit more warm. And for Father Figure, it has this very musky, warm, comforting sort of leaning fragrance as opposed to Diptyque's very fresh fig. I think there is vanilla in the base note of this one. I'll also put the notes for you for this one, but this is just such a perfect fig scent for me. I think, again, because of those base notes having vanilla, and I am someone who likes to layer vanilla with most of my fragrances, this has it in there. And I just think that this is such a great transitional perfume, given like the very warm notes, but also that fresh bite with the fig in this one. This one has such a very neutral, I don't think it leans too sweet, and it doesn't lean too like musky, earthy, woody. It's very like perfectly in the middle, and it just has that freshness of fig within it. Honestly, such a surprise scent for me. I smelt it at the store and honestly was debating on getting the full size, but I was like, you know what? Let's calm down and just buy the small one for now. And then my last favorite of the month is actually some content that I've been recently watching, and it has been journaling content. There is just something so satisfying about watching other people talk about their journaling experience. And recently I've been seeing a lot of content on journaling ecosystems. If you've not seen any like journaling content, there is like this really big wave of, I believe, this brand called Louise Carmen, and then also this other brand called Paper Republic, where they have like these leather like folios basically that wrap around like several journals that you can have within like this little, I don't know, like a jacket for your journals. And just getting to see all these people share their like journal ecosystem within these like little leather bound journals has just been so satisfying for me. I am a Libra, and apparently Libras really love aesthetic, and I can agree to that I really love aesthetic and tactile things, and getting to watch these people open up the like elastic around the leather and like opening up this like very soft, well worn and aged leather, and they're like sharing their journals and like showing the stickers and pictures that they like to put in there, and like getting to see how their like handwriting looks has just been such a satisfying thing for me to watch content wise. For me, I use a Hobonichi Weeks. So those two brands that I talked about, Louise Carmen and Paper Republic, I don't believe they do like a skinny kind of leather folio. So I ended up ordering myself one off of Etsy. And honestly, I would say if the Louise Carmen and Paper Republic price range is a little scary for you, I would say look on Etsy. They have so many options there. But I ended up contacting this very nice woman who had the Hobonichi Weeks size, and we had chatted about adding like pockets and stuff in there for me. She was so nice. I'll link her Etsy store below, but she was so nice and so helpful, and I recently got my email that she finished sewing my little folio together for me. So I'm so excited to be one of the journal ecosystem girlies. I'm just so excited for it because of like that very tactile, luxurious experience that comes with like something like that, and like getting to see almost like my leather jacket that I bought, like getting to have that age with me. And like this is my personal journal where I like, you know, write about the books that I'm reading and like just little thought pieces of my day-to-day life. I am just so excited to like invest in bringing beauty into my day-to-day life, and just seeing other people like appreciate the art of slowing down and documenting things in your life has just been so inspiring to me. And so that's what I've really been enjoying this month, just watching other people journal and talk about what they enjoy in their journals. And as someone who loves aesthetic and loves like tactile experiences and just connecting with other people and also with myself, like journaling is just such a great experience. I think before I used to be so intense about having things look so pretty and so nice and so curated, and I think getting to watch journaling and seeing so many people do like, this is just like my brain dump journal in my journal ecosystem, and this is my junk journal where like I thought this napkin at the cafe was cute and I'm going to glue it into this journal. I enjoy seeing people just use their stationery and like be so free with how they document their life. And I highly recommend that you start journaling, even if it's just in like a casual spiral notebook. I think being able to create things with your own hands and write out your thoughts and collect little bits and bobs in a little paper notebook is just such a beautiful experience. And that has been one of my favorite things for the month of April. But that is enough of me chatting about my wrap up for April. I hope you enjoyed this different formatting. I wanted to try something different again because I've really covered and talked to death about all the other books in the 2 other reading vlogs that I've posted already. I will again have that linked below. But if you did like this format and kind of like the addition of more lifestyle things, please let me know. I do love chatting about just anything in general and getting to share other things besides books that I've been enjoying. But I hope you enjoyed this video. If you've made it this far and don't have anything else to say, let's put a little baseball emoji in for this little cutie. I hope you enjoyed this video and I will see you in the next one. Bye!